Emma Carter first noticed the man across the street on a Thursday night in October. Rain had been falling since sunset, turning the narrow Boston street outside her apartment into a black ribbon of reflections. The city lights trembled in puddles, traffic murmured in the distance. Somewhere below, a siren cried and faded into the wet dark. Emma stood by her kitchen window with a mug of tea cooling between her palms, watching rain crawl down the glass. That was when she saw him. Across the street, beneath the flickering yellow glow of a street lamp, a man in a long black coat stood completely still. No umbrella, no phone, no cigarette, no reason to be there. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his face half hidden by shadow and rain. Behind him, parked along the curb, waited a black SUV with tinted windows. Emma froze. For a moment, she told herself he was waiting for someone. Maybe a driver, maybe a neighbor, maybe the storm had forced him to pause under the light. Then he lifted his eyes, straight to her window, straight to her. Emma stepped back so fast the tea spilled over her fingers. The next night, he was there again. Same time, same place, same black SUV behind him. He did not move closer. He did not wave. He did not hide. He only watched. For 2 weeks, Emma tried to explain him away. Boston was full of strangers. Her street was near expensive brownstones and old-money hotels. Men in dark coats and black cars were not impossible. But by the 3rd week, she knew. He was there for her. Every night after 10, he appeared across the street like a shadow given human shape. When she turned off her lights, he stayed. When rain turned to sleet, he stayed. When fog swallowed the sidewalk, he stayed. And he never once looked away. Emma told herself she was not afraid. She was a 2nd-grade teacher. She handled screaming children, angry parents, fire drills, budget cuts, and one very determined classroom hamster named Napoleon. She paid rent alone, fixed her own sink, carried pepper spray in her coat pocket, and had survived grief, young enough to know life did not become gentle just because you were tired. But each night, when the street lamp flickered and the man was still there, something cold moved under her skin. The first strange thing happened on a Monday. A man followed her home from the grocery store. Emma noticed him 3 blocks from her apartment. Grey hoodie, hands in pockets, too slow when she slowed, too fast when she crossed early. Her heartbeat began to climb. She tightened her grip on the grocery bag and reached for her phone. Then, a black SUV rolled silently to the curb beside her. The man in the hoodie stopped. Emma stopped too. The back window lowered 2 inches. She could not see inside, only darkness. But she felt the gaze, the same one from across the street. The man in the hoodie turned around and walked away. By the time Emma reached her apartment, her hands were shaking. That night, when she looked out the window, the man in the black coat stood beneath the lamp, watching as if nothing had happened. The second strange thing happened 3 days later. Emma came home from school to find her apartment lock replaced. Not broken, not damaged. Replaced. A new deadbolt gleamed on the door, polished brass, stronger than the cheap one her landlord had ignored for months. A small envelope waited on the floor. No name, no return address. Inside was one line written in black ink. Use this one. Her first instinct was to call the police. Her second was to look through the hallway window. Across the street, the black SUV sat parked at the curb, engine running. Emma felt rage burn through the fear. She stormed downstairs into the rain before she could rethink it. By the time she reached the sidewalk, the SUV was pulling away. But the man remained under the street lamp. For the first time, she saw his face clearly. Sharp Yav. Dark hair, slicked back by rain, light stubble. Eyes so controlled, they looked almost lifeless. He was younger than she had expected. Mid-30s, maybe. Not old, not soft, not ordinary. He looked like power dressed as silence. Emma marched across the street. Hey! He did not move. She stopped 2 feet from him, rain soaking through her sweater. Are you following me? His eyes moved over her face slowly, as if checking for injury, not admiring, assessing. That made her angrier. I asked you a question. You should go inside, he said. His voice was low, calm, expensive, dangerous without trying. Emma laughed once, sharp with disbelief. Absolutely not. You don't get to stand outside my apartment for weeks and tell me what to do. A flicker passed across his face. Not annoyance, interest. You noticed after 2 nights, he said. Her stomach tightened. What? You pretended not to until week 3. Emma stepped back. Who are you? His gaze shifted briefly to the upper windows of her building. Someone trying to keep you alive. The rain seemed to fall harder. What does that mean? It means you should go inside. No. His eyes returned to hers. People probably obeyed him when he looked at them like that. Emma did not. You replaced my lock. Yes. You scared off that man near the grocery store? Yes. You've been watching my apartment every night? Yes. The honesty disarmed her more than denial would have. Why? For the first time, his expression changed. Barely. Something dark moved behind his eyes. Because if I look away, he said, you die. Emma stared at him. The street lamp buzzed above them. A car passed slowly, tires hissing through rainwater. You're insane, she whispered. Sometimes. She turned to leave, more furious now because part of her was afraid he believed every word. He spoke behind her. Do not open your door tonight unless you know who is on the other side. Emma stopped. What? Do not open it. She turned, but the black SUV had already pulled up beside him. A driver opened the door. The man in the black coat stepped inside and disappeared into the rain. Emma did not sleep that night. At 12:43 a.m., someone knocked. 3 slow taps. Her body went cold. She stood in her dark living room, barefoot, staring at the door. Another knock. Miss Carter? A voice called softly. Building maintenance. Emma did not move. Her landlord never sent anyone after midnight. She backed toward the kitchen, reaching for her phone. The lock turned. Not forced. Turned. Someone had a key. The door opened 2 inches. Then the hallway exploded with movement. A hand shoved the door inward. Emma screamed. A man in black entered, face covered, one gloved hand reaching for her. Before he crossed the threshold, something slammed into him from the side. The masked man hit the wall hard. Another man entered behind him. The man from across the street, no hesitation. No panic. He moved with terrifying precision, dragging the attacker into the hallway and driving him to the floor. Emma heard a crack, a suppressed groan, then silence. She stood frozen in the kitchen, a knife trembling in her hand. The man in the black coat stepped back into the apartment. His knuckles were bleeding. His expression was cold. Are you hurt? Emma could barely breathe. How did he have a key? Your landlord sold access. Her stomach turned. What? You are leaving? No. Emma. It was the first time he said her name. It felt like he had no right to know it, and like he had known it for years. She lifted the knife higher. Tell me who you are. His eyes dropped to the knife, then back to her face. Luca Moretti. The name was not familiar at first. Then it landed. Moretti. Hotels, shipping, real estate, private security, expensive charity galas, whispers in teacher lounges, and local news stories that never said enough. Luca Moretti, the billionaire no one ever investigated for long. Luca Moretti, whose name appeared beside mayors, senators, police commissioners, and dead men whose cases went cold. Emma's hand tightened around the knife. You're mafia. His expression did not change. That word depends on who is saying it. Are you? I am the reason men like the one in your hallway are afraid of this street. That is not an answer. It's the only one that matters tonight. He stepped closer. Emma raised the knife. He stopped immediately, not because he feared it, because she did. His voice softened by 1 degree. You can hate me in the car. I'm not going anywhere with you. They will send more. Who? Luca looked toward the hallway, where his men were now moving silently around the body. Vincent Bellini. The name meant nothing to her, but Luca said it like a curse. Why would someone named Vincent Bellini want me dead? Luca's eyes held hers. Because your mother refused to stay buried. That was how Emma Carter's ordinary life ended, not in fire, not in screaming sirens, but in one sentence from a dangerous man standing in her kitchen with blood on his knuckles. Your mother refused to stay buried. Her mother had died when Emma was 17. A car accident on an icy road outside Providence. At least, that was what the police report said. At least, that was what Emma had believed for 10 years. Now she sat in the back of Luca Moretti's armored SUV, wrapped in her own wet coat, watching Boston blur into black glass and neon streaks, while the man across the street sat beside her like a storm contained in human form. He did not explain. He gave orders through a phone in short, quiet sentences. Move her files. Close the building. No police. If Bellini's name appears anywhere near her school, I want to know before he finishes breathing. Emma turned toward him. You don't get to talk about my school. His eyes shifted to her. I already know about your school. Of course you do. I know the entrance lock sticks. I know the playground fence was cut last month. I know your classroom windows don't latch properly. Her mouth went dry. You've been watching my school too? Yes. You're unbelievable. Yes. She looked away before he saw the tears building. Not because of him, because of everything. The attack. The man with a key. Her mother's name. The way Luca spoke like the world had always been dangerous, and Emma had simply been kept from noticing. Why? She whispered. Luca was silent long enough that she thought he might refuse. Then he said, Your mother testified against Bellini. Emma turned slowly. My mother was a nurse. She was also brave. Don't talk about her like you knew her. I did know her. The words struck deep. Emma's mother, Claire Carter, had been warm hands, tired eyes, hospital scrubs, kitchen music, and Sunday pancakes. She was not secret testimony. She was not crime families. She was not Luca Moretti. She never mentioned you. She wasn't supposed to. Why? Because everyone who knew about her testimony died. The SUV became too small. Emma stared at the rain streaking the window. What did she testify about? Luca's jaw tightened. Bellini's organization used private hospitals to move wounded men, hide bodies, and launder money. Your mother documented everything. Names, dates, transfers. She gave testimony to a federal prosecutor. What happened? The prosecutor disappeared. The files vanished. Your mother ran. And Bellini killed her. Luca said nothing. Emma closed her eyes. For 10 years, grief had been an old room she knew how to move through in the dark. Now someone had knocked down a wall and revealed blood behind it. She made me a promise, Luca said. Emma opened her eyes. She? Your mother. What promise? His face remained forward. She made me promise that if Bellini ever came for you, I would protect you without telling you why. Emma laughed once, broken and furious. That makes no sense. She wanted you to have a normal life. So you watched me from across the street like a nightmare? Yes. Normal. His eyes met hers. No, he said quietly. Alive. The safe house was not a house. It was a private floor inside one of Luca's waterfront hotels, sealed behind coded elevators and men with eyes like winter. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over Boston Harbor, where fog dragged itself over black water and ship lights blinked like warnings. Emma refused the bedroom. She sat in the living room instead, arms folded, shoes still wet, refusing the tea one of Luca's staff brought. An older woman named Mara entered just after dawn. She had silver hair, a tailored navy suit, and the calm authority of someone who had raised dangerous men and survived them. You must be Emma. I must be a prisoner. Mara glanced at Luca, who stood near the window. Not a prisoner, a protected guest. Does the elevator work for protected guests? No. Then prisoner. Mara's mouth twitched. Luca did not look amused. She needs rest, he said. She needs answers. Emma snapped. Mara looked between them and seemed to understand more than Emma wanted her to. Then give her some, Mara said. Luca's eyes sharpened. Mara. No. You brought Claire's daughter into this. She has a right to know. Luca's expression cooled. The room cooled with it. Emma saw then that even people close to him measured their words carefully. But Mara did not look afraid. Tell her about the ledger, Mara said. Luca's silence stretched. Finally, he reached into his coat and removed a small black envelope. Inside was a photograph. Emma took it. Her mother stood outside a hospital loading dock, younger than Emma remembered, holding a leather satchel. Beside her stood a man Emma did not know, and behind them, half in shadow, was Luca, younger, maybe 21, still cold, still watchful, but less armored. My mother knew you when you were that young? Yes. How? She saved my life. Emma's eyes lifted. Luca looked toward the harbor. I was 21. Bellini's men shot me outside a warehouse. My own father refused to call a doctor because doctors create records. Claire treated me in an abandoned clinic. His voice remained controlled, but Emma heard the weight beneath it. She could have left me to die. She didn't. That doesn't explain why you're still here. No, he said. It explains why I couldn't refuse her. The ledger, Mara explained, was the original evidence Claire Carter had copied before running. Names, payments, murder contracts, hospital transfers, political protection, enough to destroy Bellini and half of Boston with him. Before Claire died, she hid it somewhere no one had found. Bellini believed Emma had the clue. Emma did not. At least, she thought she did not. The clue came in a memory she had avoided for 10 years. Her mother's funeral, a grey sky, a black dress that itched, a sealed envelope pressed into Emma's hand by a priest she never saw again. Her aunt had taken it before Emma opened it. Emma sat upright. My aunt. Luca turned from the window. What? My Aunt Rebecca. She handled everything after my mother died. Papers, boxes, the apartment. She said she lost some things during the move. Mara's face changed. Luca already had his phone out. Within 2 minutes, men were searching. Within 20, Mara had an address. Within 30, Luca was putting on his coat. Emma stood. I'm coming. No. Yes. Emma, you do not get to drag my mother back from the dead and then tell me to sit on a sofa. His jaw tightened. She may be compromised. She raised me. That does not mean she didn't betray you. The words hit hard. Emma slapped him. The room went absolutely still. One of Luca's men shifted toward her. Luca raised one hand. No one moved. Emma stood inches from him, breathing hard, anger shaking through her. You don't know anything about family. His eyes darkened. No, he said softly. I know exactly what family can sell. That stopped her, not because she forgave him, because for the first time she saw that his cruelty had roots. Luca turned toward Mara. She rides with me. The drive to Rebecca's house took them through a Boston morning washed gray by storm clouds. Emma sat beside Luca this time, not because she trusted him, but because she refused to be placed in the back like cargo. Her aunt's house was empty when they arrived. Too empty. The front door was unlocked. A teacup sat shattered in the kitchen. Drawers had been pulled open. Photos cut from frames. Emma found the first sign of blood near the hallway. She stumbled back. Luca caught her elbow. She jerked away, then regretted it when she saw his hand stop midair. He did not try again. Rebecca? Emma called. Silence. In the bedroom, they found an old shoebox hidden beneath loose floorboards. Inside were letters. Claire's letters, all addressed to Emma, all unopened. Emma sank onto the bed. For 10 years, she had believed her mother left her nothing. Now her hands shook as she opened the first letter. My sweet Emma, if you are reading this, then I have failed to outrun the consequences of what I did. I need you to know something before the world lies to you. There are men who will call Luca Moretti dangerous. They will be right. But when everyone else looked away, he didn't. Emma's breath caught. Luca stood near the doorway. Face unreadable. She kept reading. I asked him to watch over you because I knew he would hate himself enough to keep the promise. Do not let him decide your life for you. But if darkness comes, trust the fact that he stayed. Emma lowered the letter. Rain tapped against the window. Her voice was barely audible. She knew you'd be across the street. Luca's eyes did not move. Yes. And you hated it. Yes. Then why keep doing it? His answer came quietly. Because she was right. The next letter contained an address. An old lighthouse on the Maine coast. Emma looked at Luca. He looked at Mara. Mara said the word before either of them could. Trap. Luca nodded. Obviously. Emma folded the letter. Then why did my mother leave it? Because she trusted you to understand something we don't. The lighthouse stood 3 hours north, battered by storm winds and sea fog, surrounded by rocks, black with rain. Luca wanted to go alone. Emma refused. Their argument ended with Luca standing inches from her in the hotel garage, his voice low enough that only she could hear. I am trying to keep you alive, and I am trying to not let fear own the rest of my life. You think courage keeps bullets away? No, Emma said. But neither does hiding behind you forever. Something in his expression cracked, not softness, recognition. He stepped back. You stay behind me. I'll stay beside you. His jaw flexed. Difficult woman. Controlling man. For one impossible second, in the middle of danger, the corner of his mouth almost moved. Almost. Then, the convoy left Boston. The lighthouse keeper's cottage was empty. Inside, under a loose stone beneath the fireplace, they found a metal key wrapped in oilcloth. Not the ledger, only a key. Attached to it was a tag, St. Bridget's. Emma recognized the name. A closed hospital outside Providence. The hospital where her mother had worked. Before they could leave, headlights appeared through the fog. Black vehicles blocked the road. Luca's men moved instantly. Emma had never seen him like that before. Not as the quiet watcher, not as the man across the street, as the thing people whispered about, cold, precise, unafraid. He guided Emma behind the stone wall as men advanced through rain and fog. Gunfire cracked across the cliffside. Emma flinched. Luca stepped in front of her, his body shielding hers from the open road. You okay? She stared at him. Bullets struck stone near his shoulder. He did not look away from her face. Emma. Yes. Only then did he turn back. The fight was brief and brutal. When it ended, one of Bellini's men remained alive. Luca crouched in front of him. Who told you about the lighthouse? The man smiled through blood. The woman. Emma's stomach dropped. Luca's eyes turned black. What woman? The man laughed. Rebecca Carter. Emma went cold. No. Luca stood slowly. The betrayal changed her grief. It made it sharp, alive. Her aunt had not simply hidden the letters. She had sold them. For 10 years, Rebecca had raised Emma, hugged her, cooked dinners, celebrated birthdays, and quietly reported her life to Bellini. Emma did not cry until they were back in the SUV. Then it came, all at once. Not pretty, not quiet. Luca sat beside her, still as stone, letting the storm and engine cover the sound. He did not reach for her. She wished he would. She hated that she wished it. Finally, she whispered, Did you know? No. If you had, I would have removed her from your life. That's a terrifying sentence. Yes, but honest. Yes. She looked at him through tears. Do you ever get tired of being honest in the worst possible way? His eyes softened by a fraction. With you, yes. The honesty hurt worse than a lie, because it sounded like he was tired of being the man he had become. St. Bridget's Hospital was abandoned behind rusted gates and dead trees. Inside, the halls smelled of mold, old disinfectant, and rainwater. Peeling signs pointed to surgery, records, maternity, oncology. Flashlights cut through dust. Emma walked beside Luca, close enough that their sleeves brushed. He noticed every time. So did she. The key opened a basement records room. Inside, behind a false panel, was a weatherproof case. Black, sealed. Emma touched it first. A feeling passed through her that she could not name. Not relief, not fear. Inheritance. Luca opened it carefully. Inside were files, tapes, ledgers, photographs, and one small velvet pouch Emma opened it. Her mother's wedding ring. Her breath broke. She kept it? Luca looked at the ring in her palm. She wore it the night she saved me. Emma closed her fingers around it. Then the lights came on. A voice echoed through the hospital speakers. Beautiful, isn't it? The past always waits in basements. Vincent Bellini stood on a screen mounted in the corner, silver-haired, elegant, smiling from somewhere else. Emma had seen him on charity banners, at hospital fundraisers, on television, shaking hands with senators. He looked kind. That was the horror. Luca stepped closer to the camera. Bellini. Moretti. Still playing guardian angel? Luca's voice went cold. She's not yours. Bellini smiled wider. No. But she is useful. The doors locked. Gas began to hiss through the vents. Emma coughed. Luca moved instantly, grabbing the case, wrapping one arm around her waist, pulling her toward the emergency stairs. The stairwell door was sealed. His men worked at it from the other side. Emma's vision blurred. Luca took a handkerchief from his pocket and pressed it over her mouth. Breathe through this. What about you? I've had worse. You always say things like that. I'm aware. She tried to laugh and coughed. Instead, he looked down at her, and for the first time, she saw true fear break through. Not controlled, not hidden. Stay awake, he ordered. That's not how oxygen works. Emma, his forehead almost touched hers. Stay. The door burst open. Cold air rushed in. Luca carried her out before she could object. Outside, rain fell hard enough to wash the hospital clean. He set her on the ground only when she could breathe. His hands stayed on her shoulders. She looked up at him. You were scared? No. Luca, his jaw tightened. Yes. Of dying? His eyes held hers. Of surviving without you. The confession hung between them, raw. Impossible. Then Mara shouted that police were coming, and Luca stepped back like he had said too much. The ledger should have ended everything. It did not. Bellini controlled too many people. Police dismissed the evidence as fabricated. News outlets hinted Emma was unstable. A tabloid published photos of her entering Luca's hotel and called her the mafia billionaire's secret lover. Parents at her school complained. The principal placed her on leave. Emma watched her life collapse from Luca's penthouse, the city glittering beneath storm clouds beyond the glass. Luca stood behind her, silent, too silent. What are you going to do? She asked. His reflection in the window looked like judgment. What I should have done years ago. No, you don't know what that means. Yes, I do. He looked at her. They took your name. My name can survive. They took your classroom. I can get it back. They made you afraid. Emma turned. And if you burn down the world for me, what am I supposed to do with the ashes? His face changed. The words had found something deep. I don't know another way, he said. There it was. Not dominance, not arrogance. A confession. Emma walked toward him. Luca did not move. You spent years watching me because my mother asked you to, she said. But you also used that promise to avoid living. His eyes darkened. Careful. No. You don't scare me enough to make me silent. A dangerous stillness entered him. Most people would have stopped. Emma didn't. You stood across the street every night because distance was safer than loving anyone. You turned protection into punishment. You made yourself a ghost and called it devotion. His expression hardened, but his voice was low. And what would you call it? She stepped closer. Loneliness. The room went quiet. Luca looked away first. It felt like victory and heartbreak at once. The final move had to be public. Emma's idea. Luca hated it, which made her certain it was right. Bellini was hosting a memorial gala for hospital donors at the renovated waterfront opera house. Cameras everywhere. Politicians, judges, doctors. The perfect stage for a man who survived by making crimes look charitable. Emma would walk in with Luca. The ledger would be released live. Claire Carter's testimony would play on every screen. And if Bellini tried to stop them, he would expose himself in front of the world. Luca stood in Emma's hotel suite while Mara adjusted the hidden transmitter beneath Emma's dress. His eyes never left her. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. I can end him without putting you in that room. You can destroy him. I can expose him. He may come for you. Emma met his Hase. Then, don't look away. The words struck him. For years, that had been his curse. Tonight, she made it a choice. At the gala, Emma felt hundreds of eyes turn as she entered on Luca's arm. Whispers followed. The teacher, the billionaire, the scandal, the mafia rumor, the dead nurse's daughter. Luca's hand hovered at her back without touching, close enough to protect, careful enough to ask. Bellini greeted them near the grand staircase. Miss Carter, he said warmly, I'm sorry for everything you've been through. Emma smiled. Not yet. His expression flickered. Then the screens went black. Claire Carter's face appeared, younger, tired, brave. My name is Claire Carter. If you're watching this, Vincent Bellini killed me. The ballroom froze. Emma stood beneath chandeliers while her mother's voice filled the room. Names, dates, hospitals, payments, bodies, judges, prosecutors, Luca's father, Bellini's empire, everything. Bellini turned pale, then furious. He lunged toward Emma with a small blade hidden beneath his sleeve. Luca moved first. He caught Bellini's wrist and twisted. The blade fell, glittering against marble. But Bellini had planned for more. A shot rang out from the balcony. Luca shoved Emma behind him. The bullet struck his shoulder. He staggered but did not fall. Chaos exploded. People screamed. Luca's men surged forward. Emma grabbed his arm. You're hit. His eyes were still searching her face. Are you? No. Then move. No. His jaw tightened. Emma, for once, let someone protect you back. He stared at her, bleeding beneath chandeliers, the most feared man in the room, looking suddenly like a boy who did not know what to do with being loved. Then, his knees buckled. Emma caught him as much as she could. The cameras caught everything. Bellini's failed attack. The shooter, the ledger, Luca bleeding on the floor, with Emma's hands pressed against his wound, and his first words, barely audible, meant only for her. I didn't look away. Bellini was arrested before sunrise. Not quietly, not privately, in front of cameras, prosecutors, and a city that finally saw the charity mask crack. Rebecca was found 2 days later trying to flee through a private airfield. Emma did not go see her. Not then. She read one letter instead, the last one Claire had written. My Emma, if Luca is still there, it means he kept his promise. But promises can become chains. If he loves you, make him step into the light. If you love him, do not follow him into the dark. Meet him halfway. That was where Emma found Luca weeks later. Not across the street, not beneath the lamp, not in the shadows. Halfway. He stood outside her school at sunset, snow falling softly over Boston, one arm still in a sling beneath his black coat. A black SUV waited behind him. He was standing in the open. Children ran past with mittens and backpacks. Parents glanced curiously at the dangerously beautiful man holding a small paper bag like it might explode. Emma walked toward him. You're early, she said. I wasn't sure how long it would take me to stop waiting across the street. She looked at the bag. What's that? He handed it to her. Inside was a brass deadbolt. Emma laughed softly despite herself. You bought me a lock? A better one. That is the least romantic gift I've ever received. I'm not romantic. You keep saying that. I'm trying to lower expectations. She looked up at him, snow caught in his dark hair. His face was still controlled, still dangerous, still too guarded for a man who had nearly died in front of her. But his eyes were different, less empty, less alone. You don't have to stand across the street anymore, she said. I know. Do you? Yes. Then where will you stand? Luca looked at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, he offered his hand. Not a command, not a claim, a question. Where you let me. Emma's throat tightened. She took his hand. His fingers closed around hers carefully, like he was holding something he had no right to keep, but had been trusted with anyway. Together, they walked through the snow, past the school, past the corner store, past the street lamp where fear had once waited every night. When they reached her apartment, Emma looked across the street. The spot beneath the lamp was empty. For the first time, no man stood there watching, no black shadow, no silent guardian, no curse disguised as devotion. Emma unlocked her door with the new brass deadbolt. Then she turned to Luca. "Are you coming in?" He stood still. The most feared man in Boston looked at an ordinary doorway like it was the edge of a life he did not know how to enter. "I don't want to bring darkness into your home," he said. Emma stepped closer. "You already brought me through it." His eyes lowered to hers. "And if I don't know how to stay, then learn." The same words she had given him before. This time, he believed her. Luca stepped inside, and across the street, beneath the flickering lamp, the rain of old nightmares gave way to snow.